Hey, how you doing, guys? Thank you for joining me. I'm Josh Cohen, and we have a tapping technique lesson for you. We're going to be working on rhythmic independence, and especially focusing on something called rhythmic displacement, which we will get into very soon. And if you're coming to this lesson just via YouTube, check out in the description. There is a link to No Treble's article that I made that has basically all the notation and some text to help you out and help you follow along with this whole thing. So go to there. Everything that we're going to be learning today, you can play on a 4-string bass. I know I have my 6-string Ken Smith right here. The pandemic has been really interesting, and I just don't have access to my 4-string basses at the moment. So doing this on the 6-string. And so anyways, let's get into it. So two-hand tapping allows us to play 2 or more independent parts at the same time. This is something that I really like about that technique that I've personally explored a lot. And a great way to get accustomed to this is to start playing bass lines with your left hand, just like you are already used to in all your bands and different projects. And then we're going to learn to tap chords simultaneously with our right hand. And that's usually going to be made up of the 3rd and 7th of a chord. Okay? So for figure 1, we're going to do this whole lesson just on, for most part, on one chord, and that is A7, okay? We're going to tap the root note A with our 2nd finger of our left hand on the 5th fret of the E string. Now, the tablature is there, so I might not point out all those numbers every time, so you take a look at figure 1, and then we're going to play the flat 7th and the 3rd with our right hand, all simultaneously. So that is number 1. Get used to that. Okay, you're not playing the 5th, just the root, 3rd, and 7th. Get used to the feeling of that voicing. And if you've done that, then very good. Figure 1 is now in your hands. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a triadic bass line, a walking bass line in the left hand. This is very typical of rock and roll, blues, like the early 50s style rock and roll, and of course jazz music as well. So the first thing, and you can see it in figure 2, is this triadic walking bass line. And what I want you to do is first just get used to playing that line. So it's with the 2nd finger of your left hand, then 1, 4. And that's just an A major triad, outlining the pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's step 2, is get used to being able to count it. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next step is to add the right hand in the most simple way, which is just a whole note on beat 1. 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. For some of you, this might be very easy because you've done a lot of tapping before or have a lot of the prerequisite knowledge, and others, you might spend a little more time on this, okay? So now that we have that, we want to add some rhythm. That's going to make this come to life a little bit more. So we're going to add a very popular classic rhythm called the Charleston. Super common in jazz, blues, rock and roll music. It's from Charleston, North Carolina. South Carolina, and there was a piece of music called the Charleston, I believe, and this was very popular in the 1920s. Okay, so we're going to add that rhythm, and the first thing I want you to do is just get used to playing that rhythm in the right hand. It's basically dotted quarter note and then an 8th note. The way I wrote it in figure 3 is just as 2 8th notes so that they're short. And I always find that, playing something that's kind of short is an easier way to sort of get used to putting rhythms together, is not to worry at first about having really long notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. At first you might just feel it like this. And the 8th notes are swung. They're bouncy 8ths. Bouncy, 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 bouncy. And when you get comfortable just feeling that, then start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. For some of you who have counted while playing before, this can be easy. For others, you're going to have to sort of break it down and get used to that. But I believe it's an invaluable way of, working through this stuff. The next thing we want to do is add the left hand. Now, for many of you, you want to do something called chunking. The idea behind chunking is you're going to break something up into smaller parts and then work on those separately. And then once you can do those smaller parts, consolidate it into one. If any of you have ever had that experience of like, oh, this is too hard, I can't do this, something's wrong with me biologically that I can't accomplish said task or whatever, those are really, you don't have those thoughts. They're really negative. What you got to know is there's this technique called chunking. So if something seems really difficult as a whole, break it up into steps and work on those steps one by one. And believe me, the masters did this too, and everyone's got that thing where they reach a point where they have to chunk it. So by all means do that. If at first all you do is this, or maybe just the first two notes, 4. You'll have to find out what works with you. Play it really slowly. But once again, you get it to this point, and then the next level of comfort is can you count at the same time? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, we're going to move on from there. So here we go. I said we're going to talk about rhythmic displacement. So here's where it comes up. So the Charleston is not always played on beats 1 and the and of 2. In fact, it can be shifted anywhere in the measure and often is. If you listen to different music of that era and modern music that's still in this style, you're going to hear the Charleston rhythm coming up in different parts of the bar. So moving a rhythmic unit, which is the Charleston is this unit of rhythm, and you can move it around, and that is called rhythmic displacement. And it is one of the best ways to work on your rhythmic independence, okay? So you can see some of that in Figure 4 and 5, which we're going to get to. And I just want to give a shout-out to Chris Donnelly, who is someone that I first learned this concept from, and he's a Canadian pianist and pedagogue, and he does lots of teaching and lots of performing. And so you can check him out, Chris Donnelly. So the idea is, first you want to just clap the rhythm like we did. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? But now in Figure 4, it gets displaced. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. If you want to feel it first before you're literally counting it, 2, okay? Then Figure 5, do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the next step, 2, is figure out all the rest of the displacements. Now, I think writing it out is a really useful tool. So if you're sort of getting these figures, you probably know a little bit about this westernization of how we notate stuff. So you can use that skill. And I think in this case it'll be pretty helpful, but it's not the only way. So if you're not used to that, there's definitely other ways of just thinking and conceptualizing this. But I want you to then go through all those other displacements, okay? And then they end up being this. Once you write them out and you work them out, it's going to be like this. Okay, 1. So here's the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if it's on the and of 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the and the 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 3, I think you're getting this concept. We're just moving it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the and a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. I like that one. All right. On the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. On the and a 4. Whoo! 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So once you've done that homework, and it is homework, you might struggle with this for a couple days, then you want to put those parts together on the bass, okay? Same thing. You're going to have to do chunking. You're going to have to work on one at a time. That's how it works. But when you get it together, it's going to be like this. That's first position. Second. maybe that's going too fast for some of you. So basically, we're shifting it around. So on the 1 it's, and that's got its own feeling. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the and 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 2, 1, 2. On the and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. On the and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, so got to work on that, and I think you're going to learn a lot from it. And so the last thing I want to just show is taking this concept and the idea of the bass line underneath with the left hand and the idea of using this Charleston rhythm. You can then apply that to a 12-bar blues. And this is where, you might want to come up with your own arrangement, but here's one little short arrangement that I put together and that I think will kind of allude to these concepts. And if you put the time into sort of figuring out, I think you might get to a point where you're like, oh, okay, I could do my own thing that's like this using some of these concepts, okay? So I'll play it slowly first. This is a 12-bar blues in A, and of course the bass line goes some places, and then we got a Charleston, and it's displaced on 1 bar and then on the 1 on the 2nd bar, and that continues. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's real fun if you speed it up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, guys. Happy practicing.